Brian Von VA here. We're talking about something that's going to be a little bit of a hate train for some people. Murder hobos. As a DM, how do you deal with murder hobo players that kill everything in your campaign? This might sound a tad arrogant, but whenever I hear the typical horror story of a party of murder hobos playing the game as if they had a flamethrower for a face, I can't help but assume that it is the fault of the DM, and I'm almost always right. Now, I realize not every DM runs games the way I do, and that not everyone enjoys these kinds of games. But there are two cardinal rules of every game I ever run, ones I will not compromise from, and if the player is not happy with playing them, he's welcome, or she, to take their leave. 1. When I run a campaign, actions have consequences. I actually have been known to send this image to my players after they make important decisions. Yes, like, don't screw around, man. You gotta do your job. 2. I have no obligations to provide a fair fight to players, assuming it was made clear to them that the fight they are about to pick is not fair in their favor. It's a big world, and not everything is their level. Anyone with the barest understanding of how human society works should be well aware that murdering left, right, and central tends to be frowned upon. This means that you have every right to react as an actual society would react to a bunch of twits who think the law doesn't apply with them, with fire and thunder. Frankly, I refuse to believe there is nobody in your world with the means and the will to get rid of a murder hoboing party, no matter what game and in what world you run. Your typical D&D campaign. Send out the household knights of the local duke to see to these band of criminals. Oh, but your campaign is set in a lawless frontier. Surely the reputation of a brand of brash murderers has spread enough that there are plenty of people willing to take part in a lynch mob. They're playing Deadlands? Okay, see how well their murdering hoboing holds against the Texas Rangers. Mistborn adventure game? Shove a Steel Inquisitor up their ass and see how they like it. Vampire the Masquerade? Ha ha ha. I'm sure the Carmilla Prince of their city would be willing to let a blood hunt take care of a bunch of rogue vampires with no regard towards the masquerade. Feel free to find lesser solutions at first. Involve weaker and less troublesome foes at first, a warning to the players if you will. But if the players' crimes have reached the point where they deserve the hammer, and if you aren't giving them the realistic consequences of their actions, well, it's your fault.
Hello, I hear you're interested in murder. What a coincidence.
But up, I hear you saying. Texas Rangers, blood hunt, a fucking Steel Inquisitor, it'd be a party wipe. Yes, it will. Just as it happened to any number of bandits, murderers, and inveterate criminals across history. Law caught up with them, and they swung from the gallows or were slain where they were found and left to the scavengers. Not that you didn't warn them, though. If you're lucky, they will learn something, and the next party they make will actually have functional mouths instead of flamethrowers attached to their faces. In-game consequences. People react negatively to them. First with suspicion, then with disdain and rejection. Aren't you the ones that killed the Lord Mayor's sow? Reputation tanks. Go on now, get. Local shops charge them extra, then refuse to do business with them. Link boy. Nah, he's busy. Find your own way. You want the bridle? 50 gold sovereigns. No credit. Local patrons won't hire them anymore. Then they're run out of town or face justice from the constabulary. In the name of the king! Civil forfeiture of weapons, gear, lands, titles, assets, and access. Bounty hunters start appearing with posters depicting the hobos. The big bad evil guy sends an envoy bearing a message of employment, a fruit basket of goodwill, or a threat of retaliation. Montemora is mine, curs. Be gone or be flayed. Individually, there are bellwether clues to be gleaned by key players as their alignments shift. The paladin's armor dulls, the shining blade, a spot of corrosion that will not buff out. The cleric's prayers go unanswered. No spells, if high enough in the choir of clergy, an emissary of heaven may appear to smite the wayward priest with boils or leprosy or a tax liability to the state. The skies darken, rivers boil away at their touch, animals attack out of nowhere, wine turns to blood. They wake with ravenous hungers to do things most unnatural, and the sun refuses to shine upon them as the curse manifests. Yeah, okay, you're just not getting it. And if all that fails, follow the advice of this quote from the movie Shooter. The other side wanted him bad. Finally narrowed his hide down to an abandoned 6-story building. They quit the subtle tactics. They called it an artillery strike, leveled a square block, brought the building down on his ass. For example, these characters are NPCs now. They are the soulless undead, more meat for the legions in the service of death herself. No Brian with a Y. We're not gonna carry on with the thought experiment. You're welcome to continue a campaign of wicked debauchery. You'll just need a different DM. Not how I roll. No, Chris, you left the dark hero or anti-hero or monster in the service of good post-apocalyptic, whatever last session, when you spitted the last known unicorn and served him up to woodland creatures. I would have thought that meteor strike might have served as a tip-off. Was it too subtle? There are 2 ways I can think of to deal with it. The first is to simply let them suffer the consequences of their actions. Yet again, a smart poster. The town guard comes after them. The rangers are sent to hunt them down. Nobody will do business with them, etc. Another option is to, well, lean into it. They've chosen to be bandits, outlaws, scourges of society. Okay, Buster. After the paladin's god forsakes her, she'll start to hear whisperings. The rogue will find himself pursued by a dark figure. The bard's sweet songs will turn sour. Finally, they will be given an offer: become the minions of a new dark god or continue to lose themselves. When they accept, or if the god simply grows impatient and brands them with its mark, they will do its bidding. They will get protection so long as they do its will. Murder hobo all you like. But there's really no point on turning on the god or its avatars. I wouldn't even bother to write stats for them. You can't kill what doesn't have stats. Bleh. And at this point, if they stop murder hoboing, well then, we're back to consequences. Before discussing how I would handle murder hobos, let me give you my 4 rules on role-playing games. The GM has absolute authority. The game is their world. The players are just given permission to visit it. The players are the reason the game exists. They have absolute say in whether they play or not. They are guests to act and be treated as such. Have fun. The whole point is to enjoy yourself and help others enjoy themselves as well. It's never as cool outside the game. What happens in-game stays in-game. These rules actually give me guidelines as to how to handle murder hobos. Option 1. Exert absolute authority. As GM, I can have the world react to the player's actions with as much subtlety or as little as I wish. Anything from having NPCs react poorly to them to flat out forbidding their actions is on the table. As in most cases, the extremes don't work too often. Having the NPCs get disgusted with them or react with fear could actually encourage the behavior, while GM fiat, "No, because I said so," tends not to be well received. The best in-game reaction is just to have the world react to a bunch of killers and looters the way the world should react to them. In the real world, people who are known killers often run into trouble with the law. If the issue is in more murky waters, maybe it isn't the law that's the trouble, but the bad guys. Kill the town's guards and the local authorities start offering bounties on the heads of all the PCs. Kill the monsters in the dungeon and the allies and family members of those monsters might seek revenge. Sometimes, it is good to introduce the party to a powerful but neutral monster, where in this case neutral doesn't necessarily mean alignment, but disposition towards the party. One of the features in my games is having creatures like adult dragons, greater demons or ancient liches, and vampires all show up, all with their reasons for not getting into a fight with the party that is very much outmatched. The dragon could be out hunting and decides that the party isn't worth the bother, but an extra pack animal might be. The demon has come to collect on the soul of the local lord who made a pact, and the party just isn't of interest because the demon has no business with them. The lich might actually want the party's help with collecting an ancient non-magical book of historical importance. I digress. The point of all of the above examples is to give the players, or rather their characters, the opportunity to screw up if they decide to seek short-term goals for their own narrow-minded enjoyment. Other examples could include the consequences for killing a monster that had valuable information, killing the transformed princess, or just killing hostages as part of the collateral damage. When the characters and the players both have been told about the importance of not just killing everyone they see, and they screw things up, bad things need to happen because that's verisimilitude. Option 2. Cater to the whims of the murder hobos. This is the other side of the coin. Instead of having the characters change their ways, have the world change to suit them. Taken to the extreme, this kind of copulation can manipulate the players to confront how horrible being a murder hobo really is. They all surrendered? Yep, they're all terrified of you and all the stories they heard about you. There are men trying to be brave, women openly crying. There's a little girl looking at you with uncomprehending eyes. She looks a little bit like Player's real-life daughter. So, you gonna kill them? Most likely, though, this kind of game is wish fulfillment. Maybe because the players are frustrated in real life and want to vent some steam. If everyone's on board with it, go for it. Option 3. Talk. Look, if you want to have fun and running a game with murder hobos isn't you or your other players' idea of fun, then maybe you need to have a little chat. Ideally, you are all mature enough to have this discussion and make it clear what's not working and what might work going forward. Option 4, this is the last option by the way, walk away. As fun as playing D&D or any game is, sometimes you need a break. What worked for one group might not work for a different group, or even the same game a second time. Maybe you just need to put the game down and say, that's it, I'm done. Ideally, yes, you'll be playing or running a game that you enjoy, but it doesn't always work out the way you plan. You've tried enforcing your way and having the world react to the murder hobos. You've tried letting them have their way. You've tried talking to them, which, honestly, is probably one of the first things you should try and do, but is also one of the things to which you should keep going back to. But they just won't stop. Maybe you can get to them if you try hard enough, but sometimes you need to admit that they are broken and you can't fix them, and it's not your fault, nor is it your responsibility. Just remember that there's no harm in walking away. Hey everybody, Brian Von VA back at it again, checking in after the vid. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, ring that bell, and of course, how would you handle murder hobos? Leave it down in the comments below. Personally, in-game consequences. If they want to play like an idiot, they get treated like an idiot. And if I can't talk to them and reason with them, I'm just going to say, well, you're kicked out of the game, or I'm walking away from it if the entire party is a bunch of idiots. Because honestly, why do you want to waste your time? All the love, be safe out there, and we will see you next time. Bye for now.